Hi there and welcome to the Oil Painter Studio. I'm going to do a little demo here for you. I just want to move the camera, the whole image into the camera. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to draw an accurate drawing just by measuring. And so what we have right here is a plumb line, vertical and horizontal on both sides. Make sure you have it exact same size because we're going to paint side size. So what you're going to do is you're going to go and find out exactly how tall that pear is. So you mark your finger on your pencil and on the very top, on that line there, from that line, just mark your finger there, and then you have the top of your pear. And then do the same thing here for the bottom. So from that line, place your finger right there. And so we have a top and we have a bottom. I think, let's take a look. Let's measure it from the bottom actually. So from the bottom here, and that is around there. Sorry, I made a mistake. So yeah, so just double check your measurements. So there you go. So that's the bottom, you can tell there. And you can just come right across this way. And then from that line over there, measure to where the end of the pear is over here. And that's about there. And you can do the same thing here. So you're basically mapping out your drawing. And you're just doing a little series of straight lines. And then let's come around here, and it's the furthest point of this pear. It's about there. And come over to the same spot and place that in there. And then on the same for the side, just come along there, along that line. And then just always make sure that you always place your hand in the same spot. So we about, so we come about halfway there, and then just place a line. And then you can come around here. Just make sure you go over to the same spot each time. So if you come from here, bring your hand over to the same spot. And now we have mostly the pear in there. And then you can just go ahead and just, let's just see first how far out that is. So there you go. So now you can just go ahead and just copy that in, and you just go dot to dot. It's the easiest way to do an accurate drawing. I mean, you can obviously go and put in more points, but I have this in, and then let's go ahead and start painting this in as soon as I have the drawing. And so this is really how you can get an accurate drawing. And then let's see how far from the top this. And then just go ahead and place that in. You can just go like straight across like this, and then just place that in. And you can see where it just right on the line here, you can just end it right there. And so you go like this. And it's got this sort of rounded top, and then bring that straight in there. So that is the quickest way to draw an accurate drawing. And then we'll come over here and just place this here. We'll just copy it as we see it. You can measure it. I'm just going to eyeball it. We don't have to draw that cloth in, but I think I'm going to. And bring that can see where that cloth is, and you can measure it if you like. You can just come like this about halfway, and you can just place it there. And that's it, I think. This is an AI generated image, so they don't always make sense, but this one kind of does. And you can see where it comes from, the corner there, so you just copy it into that corner, or you can measure it. So there we go, now we have an accurate drawing. And we're going to do this in raw umber. And the first thing we're going to do is start with the background. So for the background, I'm just going to grab some medium quickly. This medium is Oleo Gel by Rublev, by Natural Pigments. I'm just going to place this medium up here. It's a gel medium. It's really nice to use. It's very easy to use. It's not going to drip down your palette. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of this medium. And I'm going to pick up some of this white. And I'm going to pick up just a little bit of this raw umber. I'm going to make a very pale color. I'm just going to pick up a little bit more of that medium. Then I'm going to come here. I'm just going to come and block all this in. You can scrub it along like that. Don't use too much medium. You want to use as little as possible. So we just kind of come in and block all of this in. We basically want to paint everything behind the pear. So we just come and block all this. You can scrub it in like this. Let's add a little bit of medium, a little bit of raw umber, just to change the color, just so it's not pure white. And you just come and paint all this in. I've tinted my canvas with raw umber and mineral spirits. You can do that, or you don't have to. I prefer it because then I can see my values a lot easier. Painting white on white doesn't always make sense. So I'm just going to come right over here and paint that in. So the reason why we're just doing it in raw umber and white is because we just want to create a value study so that we can understand values and also figure out how to use the paint and how to move the paint around. You don't want to go and paint your first masterpiece for your first painting because, you know, it's like learning to play a piano. You can't just go ahead and start playing Mozart. You need to start playing scales. So we're just going to keep filling all of this in. Just pick up a little darker color there and just come over here where this shadow is and place it in. Make it a little darker. And there's a little line over here where there's a window ledge. And then just darken that slightly on the inside. And then come here, pick up more raw umber, pick up a little bit of medium. I'm just going to come here and paint in this shadow here. Too much medium. If you put too much medium on, just add a whole bunch more paint. I just want a darker value for this corner here. And slightly lighter. For this area here. There you go. I sort of got a background in there. I'm just going to fuse this edge here just a little bit. See what I'm doing there. I'm just dragging that paint in there. And I'm just going to smooth it down just to give it that nice soft edge. Okay, and do the same thing over here. You just want a nice soft smooth edge. And just bring that straight down like that. Next, I'm going to go and paint that cloth in the background. And I'm just going to come and grab this. If you could just grab this. And if you hear talking in the background, it's my husband on the phone. This is Monday and he's calling his customers. Okay, so there we go. And just paint that in. There you go. And then you can come on this side and do the same. Okay, and then next, I'm just using all the same brush, but you can use different brushes if you like. And then I'm just going to come and place in this shadow. And I'm just going to soften that edge a little bit. I'm just going to paint on those shadows there, and there's another shadow right over here. I'm going to place this in here. There you go. I'm just going to go and darken that shadow a little more below it. Just take a little bit of medium. And then right under here is a shadow. And then we'll bring that shadow down here to about there. And then we'll go and darken all those shadows afterwards. I just want to block in all the shadows and the lights. And then we'll take, actually I'll take a second brush. The brushes I'm using are Rosemary & Co. Ivory Long Flats. And then I'm going to come and place this in here. And just play, as you can see that shape, that's what I'm painting, and I'm painting that shape that I see. Okay, there you go. It's more or less that shape. And then what I want to do is I want to get a third brush, probably a softer brush, and this one is an evergreen by Rosemary & Co. They're nice and soft bristles, and they're really nice for softening. And you can take some paint here and just place it in there and just go right between the two. Oops. Let's just go and create that bit of a shadow a little bit more. See, this brush is nice and soft, and it makes those nice soft edges. And I'll bring this here. There we go. And then we'll come up here and blend that shadow a little bit more here. And then I'll darken that shadow underneath it a little bit more. You can take another brush, and then just come and just a dry brush. There's no paint on this brush at all, so I'm just going to come here and just soften that edge with a second brush. Once this is dry, we can go and refine it a little bit more, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. Just going to soften this edge a little bit, and then I'm going to go and paint in that edge, that darker shade. The darker value is right here, and I'm going to paint that in. Just want to paint that shadow in first. There it is. So I'm just following those shapes, and I'm looking at that shadow shape and painting it in. Okay, so I almost have my whole background in. And then I'm going to go and paint in the surface that the pear is on. And let's just come and mix all of this together. A bit more of this, a little bit of medium. And then let's come and paint this in slightly darker value. So just follow what you see. Almost like using a grid. There we go. Just make sure that your angles are the same. Check your angle like this. And move it over there. It looks like it's the same. And then just paint this in. You can always paint the texture in later, the wooden texture. And let's just go and paint all this in first. Around there, and then the shadow starts there. And then go pick up some more here. I'm going to make it slightly darker on the other side. Around here. Paint all this in. There's a bit of a shadow up there, but I want to just paint in this lighter area. And then we'll go and work that shadow. And I'll use this brush. I'll just go and create a shadow color. It's pretty much dark, and we'll grab a little bit of this medium. Brush is a little on the soft side, so I'm just going to grab this brush again. I find the evergreens slightly soft. I like these ivories because they're bristly and firmer. I mean, the evergreens are lovely for blending. Best to use on your second coat, actually, as opposed to the first one, because you just want to, paint in and rough in your painting without roughing up the brush. And these ones can stand some roughing up. I have some more info about these brushes, so you can read up about that in the newsletter. Okay, so there we go. Just blend that in. And then let's just go and darken that foreground just a little bit here. And then we'll blend all that in. Let's pick up some more paint. Some more white. Some more raw umber. Oops, I guess I need more. So there we go. Just go and fill all this in. And then we can get this here, and then just place this here and create that shadow here. Sort of a darker shadow. And of course, this is just our first pass. We're going to do a second pass. Not today, because I'd like to, I want this to dry, and it's going to take a bit to dry because during winter time, titanium white takes a long time to dry. If you wanted to dry faster, you need to use a fast drying medium. You can use an alkyd. An alkyd dries really fast. I use black oil, which has a lead litharge in it. Not everyone's comfortable with using lead, and that's fine. You don't have to. I've been using lead for many years. I'm painting with titanium white because I wanted to do the demo, but usually I paint with lead. And lead white dries it's dry the next day. You know, if you don't feel comfortable using it, you can wear gloves. Right now I am looking to see what I did with that raw umber. Okay, I found it. I'm just going to place this raw umber right over there, right over here. This raw umber is French raw umber, and this is by Rublev Natural Pigments. Okay, so I'm going to go and pick up a little bit of raw umber and just place it here. I'm going to pick up a little bit of medium. And I want to come place this shadow here. There we go. There we go. Just darken that a little bit. And then a little bit more here. So basically what we're doing right now is we're blocking in our painting. Finalizing all the values and the composition, and well, we like the composition, it looks great. So that looks good, and we'll go and put in all our darks in later. So let's go and paint that pear. So let's come like this, and I'm going to start with that highlight on the edge of the pear. And I'm going to go and pick up some medium. Of course, this is going to take a long time to dry because I'm using titanium, and I should have used lead. So you might need to wait for the second video when this is dry. It might take a week to dry, maybe longer. I'm trying not to use thick paint, but I wanted to use titanium white so that you can see what it looks like when you use titanium white, because it's more than likely you don't have lead white. And so there we go. So we have that lighter value on there. Just make sure you just follow the shape that you see. And there's a little bit of a lighter value over there, and there's one there. And then just keep painting that and just make it slightly darker. As you can see, it's starting to change value. Value is how light or dark something is. Okay, I'm going to go and place that in there. And you can tell that the pear is darker than the surface. So we're going to go and darken that pear slightly. Over here it's lighter, but here it's darker. And then it gets darker and darker. So let's just go and paint that in. And then we'll go and paint all this in, this value right here. And you don't want your edges to be like a firm line. You want to have nice soft edges, because that's what makes your painting look realistic. So I'm going to grab my second brush here. I'm going to add more dark paint in there. And I want to go for the next layer, which is this lighter layer, but it's not quite as dark as this, but it's darker than that. So I just want to come and sort of get that same value color and pick up a little bit of medium. And then we're going to come here and paint in this until it's the same value as my tinted canvas. So it's a little tricky to see that, but you can see it all come together. And then we'll go and soften that as well. So let's just go and do the same for this side. It's a little darker on the side. Pick up a little bit of medium. And then come and paint in this edge. So this still has to go darker, so we're still good. And so we want this, like this, to be darker than that. So we just kind of come here, pick up a little bit of medium. And now we want to make that, oops. We want to make that edge darker here. So here, like that. There we go. Okay, next, let's go and get some darker paint. And then let's just paint it right. You can see that darker shadow in the center. That is called a core shadow. Core, C-O-R-E. And then we'll just make sure that we have that shadow in the right place. And then we'll blend those other lines together. And just come and paint that in. That's great. Let's just bring some more of that in there. And then next, let's just bring some of this darker paint in here. And then make this much darker. And even this is darker. But we're going to go for the second coat and we're going to make it much darker. But right now we just want to get that first layer in. And here. And then we're going to take our soft brush, this one over here, and then we're going to very gently just come and do some blending. I'm just using a very soft touch, and I'm placing my bristles between those two lines, and I'm blending them together. And I'm going to do the same here, bring this up here, very gentle, light touch, and then we'll do the same here. And looks like we're just about done with this layer. And I just want to come and soften this line here. And then we can soften this edge too. Just go put your brush between those two edges, and you can soften those lines. And basically, I think we've got it all. I just want to go and paint in that twig. And we'll come here and paint that in. All round it there, and then just bring that down there. And that's it, really. There we go. And so I just got to come here and there we go. Okay, so I think we're good for this pear. Kind of looks like it's floating, and I just want to come and fix that a little bit. I don't want it to look like it's floating. So let's just bring that right down there, and we'll just blend that straight in there into that shadow at the bottom there. So you can't actually see the bottom of the pear. And that's okay, because we'll finish that off for next time. So you basically just want this whole shadow just to become one, because when you squint your eyes, you can't really see anything else. And then we're going to take some more of this. And we just come and place this here. And of course it's difficult to place it in there because everything's wet. But we'll come and define that even more. I just wanted to show you what that would look like. But it's better that you just blend it all together like this. And then we can go and refine this a little further in our next sitting. And what I want to do is I want to come here and just soften this edge just a little bit more. If you mess up a little bit, that's okay. You can always come on the other side here and replace those areas that you painted over. Just take lots of paint off. And then bring that over there and take it further there. Okay, that's great. I think we're there. And so that's a good start. And then we'll just continue with our demo when this is dry. Oh, I just have to just come and do something here quickly. And just get in that at the back there and just place this in. There we go. Excellent. So we'll see you in the next video. I just want to do this quickly. Just soften that, just make it look like it's not one hard line. And then just soften that a little bit. Looks like we're good. Let's just fix this a little bit. And there we go. Nice. Great. Let's see that we got everything in. Just make sure all our lines are softened. Let's just come here and just add a little bit of a shadow in here. And then in here too. And then we'll go and define this even more. Let's just bring the shadow back in here. I'm just using a very, very light touch. And there we go, and we can continue with this demo. Right before we go, I just want to do something here because it still looks like my pear is floating. So I'm going to come and place the shadow right in here. Even if you don't see that line where the pear ends and the table begins, that's fine, because we're going to define that in our next sitting. I just don't want that pear to look like it's like sitting above the cutting board. And we'll go and add all that wood texture in there afterwards. So that's basically how we start. Right, we'll see you next time.